Hey everybody, and welcome back to the GregTech Tutorial Series, Part 5. I am feeling much better than I did when I did the last video, so I won't sound like crap in this one. Yay. Um, so, last video, we covered energy generation and storage. If you haven't seen that one, I recommend you go visit it, as well as watching the rest of the previous episodes in the series. This episode we're going to be this episode and the next episode, I'm going to be covering all the blocks that I missed. Or rather, I didn't miss them, I just didn't mention them because they weren't sort of essential to progression in the GregTech mod. I was sort of describing all the blocks that were necessary for progression in the mod, and so on and so forth. So all the stuff you basically need to get higher up in the mod. All of this stuff is more like utility stuff, so you don't really need it. It's just useful for automation and other stuff like that. So, without further ado, let's get started. Oh, and also, one thing before we start, if you hear like a roaring sound in the background, it's because it's raining really, really, really hard right now, and I love it. But just in case you hear that, that is, my microphone is picking that up. Though I doubt it will, because it is a directional microphone, and it tends not to pick that sort of stuff up. But just wanted to let you know, just in case. Right, let's get started. Okay, I'm basically going to be going by rows. I just took all of the blocks from NEI that I hadn't covered yet, and plopped them all down. So let's start from here. First thing, GregTech Computer Cube. This thing, as you can see, it's flashing because it doesn't have power, but it usually has a GUI that when right-clicked, it can scan seed bags, simulate a nuclear reactor. It has automation data for several different types of GregTech machines, and it can just do all sorts of fun stuff, and it's also used in several crafting recipes. And I'm not going to be doing crafting recipes in this, because if I did that, it would take way too long. So just look it up in NEI if you need to. Sonictron, basically, you can program a whole bunch of different sounds into this, and then you can basically make these sounds on demand, and then you can assign them to different note sequences and so on. So, and you can also, there's also a mobile chip version of this somewhere in here. I don't know where it is. Let me find it. Probably somewhere deep in here. Oh, never mind. Just take my word for it that there is a mobile version of this. Superconductor wire. This is actually very important, so I'll show you the crafting recipe. This can transfer 2147483647 EU per packet. So I think that is the maximum amount of EU that the IC2 energy net can actually support. So it's crafted by, it's actually, they made the crafting recipe cheaper since I last saw this. 4 tier 2 machine holes, 2 energy flow circuits, and 3 superconductor make 4. So you're going to need these at some point. I don't know what you might need these for. These are great for high energy transfer. Like, say if you want a ton of power over a line, you can use something called a supercondensator to up the voltage and then transfer it over superconductor. The fusion reactor used to output power that needed superconductor wire to transfer, but it doesn't do that anymore. That'll be for part 7. Electric crafting table. Basically, it's a normal vanilla crafting table, but it's automatable, so you set a recipe in these slots right here. Items go in here. Items that are used with durability, like tools, and if you're using something like a medium stone or something like that, go in these slots here. Then you can set the crafting mode if you want to set to packager mode or something like that. So that's packager mode there, and that's full slot packager mode. That's conversion mode. That's dust conversion mode. That's, I don't know what that is. That's, I don't know what that is. That's turbine repair mode, I think. And then that's regular crafting mode. So, basically, you just set the slots in here, provide power to it at 32 EU a tick, and it'll crank out the recipe here. Simple as that. Translocator. As far as I know, the translocator pulls from one inventory and puts into another inventory, and it's filterable. It's basically like I think it was also called the translocator from Red Power 2. Buffer. Basically, same thing. It just holds items, and then it can export them to another slot. And it's also got redstone control, so it can tell you when there's an item in it. So it's a more advanced version of just regular chest buffer. Advanced translocator. It's got some more automation options for you. So you can set sides, you know. Let's see. Advanced buffer. It's also got numbers here. I'm assuming that's for setting for redstone control, how many items need to be in the slot, or how many items can be exported in one go. I've actually never used most of these, so I'm not too experienced with them. I'm just most of the time either guessing what they do, or I know what they do, and I just don't. I'm just sort of extrapolating here. Rock breaker. I'm pretty sure this just breaks rocks in front of it, or else it is actually a cobble generator. It says electric cobble generator Mark 4 or Mark 6 actually. So I'm pretty sure this just is a cobble gen, and it exports small dusts occasionally. Sorter, just like it sounds, it sorts items. Item clearer pulls items from in front of the yellow slot and pumps them out of the red slot. Crop harvester, it'll harvest any crops from crop sticks in front of it. Scrap boxinator, I've actually used this one. Feed scrap boxes into it, and it'll basically perform a right-click action with them and convert them into scrap and spit them out the back. Quantum tank, it will hold, I think, 2 million millibuckets, so that's 2,000 buckets. It used to be a lot more, it used to be about 2 billion, but they nerfed it, I don't know why. So it's now about as good as a 3x3x3 internal iron tank from Railcraft. So it's not as good, but it's better than the iron tank in the fact that it only occupies one block. It does have a really expensive crafting recipe, though. So, yes. Regulator. No idea what this does. I'm assuming that the little numbers here mean that you can set items in here, and it'll basically just tell how many it has. I don't know. Advanced safe, this is like the vanilla IC2 safe, but it is actually safe. So, even admins can't open it. Inventory manager, assuming the tooltip is it's simpler than you think, I promise. I'm assuming that it manages adjacent inventories. Problem is it never tells you what this stuff does. Huh. I'm guessing you set items in here somehow, and then each of these buttons represents a side color, and that represents a distribution type. I don't know. Probably should have researched more on this mod before I put a spotlight on it. Electric type filter. Oh, this is an interesting one. This filters via OR dictionary types. So you can see that it's got OR dictionary names here. So if you want to sort all items with type OR into this slot that are coming in, then you can set all items with type OR. All items that are considered by Forge as to be an OR. So something that can be found in the ground via world gen that can be processed into resources is an OR. So you can see there's a ton of different ORs appearing there. So also you can set to allow items with NVT or don't allow items with NBT. NBT, I don't know what NBT stands for, but I do know that it is a type of data that can be tagged onto an item that is not represented in any type of meta ID, but is stored within the item and is usually per instance. So that means if you modify the meta of one item, it will modify the meta of all of them. Tools, for example, store their IDs in meta values, which are meta IDs. Now, meta IDs are usually shown as a tag onto the end of the ID. So, for example, 906.906:14 would be a meta ID of ID 906. So it's usually used to represent sub-ORs or sub-items, and also used to represent durability on tools. NBT values are usually used to represent data in machines and something like that. So, for example, processing times, stored energy, button set values, and stuff like that are all represented in NVT values. So invert filter, don't invert filter, invert redstone, or don't invert redstone, emit redstone in slots contain something, don't emit redstone, or emit redstone in slots contain something, emit energy to output side, or don't emit energy. So basically, it's a pretty versatile tool for a filter. Retriever, I'm assuming this retrieves items from the target inventory, which would be side green, and it just retrieves items of all of this type. Okay. Advanced crafting table. This is a regular crafting table, but it can do several things that I don't quite understand yet. I'm assuming these slots up here can charge items because this thing can accept energy up to 128 EU a tick. Put your electric tools in these slots here, and they will recharge. At least that's what I'm guessing. It's got a slot for some sort of form here. You've got buttons here that put all items from the crafting table into the inventory, or put all items from the crafting table into a hopper or adjacent inventory. I have used this. I just basically use it as a crafting table with storage. It's pretty versatile and it's not that expensive. Super condensator. This is used for basically, it's got a small EU buffer, 2 lapatrotic energy orbs, 4 energy flow circuits, 2 superconductors, and a tier 4 machine block. Highly advanced. Basically what this does, it's a EV transformer. It's 1 tier above the EV transformer. It basically takes a huge amount of EU in, and it outputs a huge amount of EU. 10 million a packet, as far as I can tell. Teleporter. This is, I think, at least I'm guessing, a more advanced version of the IC2 teleporter. Because when I right-click on it, it says, basically, it's saying that I can set where I want to teleport to, which is really, really cool. It's a targetable teleporter. That's really awesome. Tesseract generator and Tesseract terminal. I really don't know here. Tesseract generator, I would assume, is for some reason like a Tesseract from thermal expansion. Generates a Tesseract for the adjacent inventory. And a Tesseract terminal can somehow access all the Tesseracts? I don't know. Don't ask me all of these things. Redstone scale. Oh, this one's easy. Basically, it just measures the strength of redstone that's being put in. Easy for automation type things. There's a couple other things, the redstone circuit block, redstone display, and button panel that can be used. All of these blocks have, well, almost all of them, have the ability to emit redstone if a certain action is occurring. So you can basically automate your entire GregTech network with redstone. Player detector, that's basically self-explanatory. Detects all players in a radius of given power and emits a redstone signal. Electric tradomat. It's like the tradomat from IC2, but electric. It's an electric trading machine. Only useful on the servers, I would assume. Digital tank, smaller version of the quantum tank, can only store 256 buckets. Redstone circuit block, basically a logic circuit for redstone. It's kind of like the RedNet controller from MFR, but I would assume it's a bit more versatile because it's from GregTech. Redstone display, displays digital display of redstone strength. Button panel, I'm pushing a button on it. Okay, that's pretty cool. Basically, I think the redstone strength varies on the button that you push. That's kind of cool. Redstone note block, it emits a different note of sound when depending on the redstone strength being applied to it. And also you can vary the sound by rotating it. Electric type sorter. Ah, so that's ore, that's gem, that's nugget, that's tiny pile of dust, that's pile of dust, that's ingot, that's block, that's leaf. Okay, whatever. That's sapling, log, rod, piece of bread, crushed ore, honeycomb, and back there. Basically, it's just sorting types. It's a less advanced version of the electric type filter. Okay, cool. Quantum chest and digital chest. These can store a massive amount of items. You can't. They don't actually have GUIs. You just, which kind of annoys me. You just right-click, and they're kind of like barrels. They just show you how much they have in them. Electric filter. Filters the same item. A lot of these seem to be either redundant or extremely close in function. It's kind of weird. Iron frame. Kind of self-explanatory. Just a different version of something you could put a cover or construction foam on. Fluid pipes. They are a method of transferring fluid. Small, regular, large, and also item pipes, small and large. The size varies how much you make from one crafting recipe and how much they can carry. Last, lathe. You can put ingots in, and it gives you a rod and two small piles of dust. So it's a bit more efficient than doing it with a file. Plate cutting machine, put a block in here, it'll give you 9 plates of the respective material. It's the only thing that can cut gem blocks into plates for lenses and such. Scanner, put stuff in here you want to be scanned. It can scan crops and other things, as it says in the tooltip. And the extruder, possibly my favorite processing machine from GregTech. Basically, the extruder takes templates, or molds, I think they're called. Yes. Shape. Yes, there we go. Shape plates. Extruder shapes. So, for example, you can have extruder shaped block, extruder shaped plate, rod, bolt, ring, cell, wire, ton of stuff. Basically, you put the material you want to process in here. It's always a metal. If you want to make a block of iron, you get into yourself an extruder shaped block. You put it in here. It has to be in this slot. It's a little outline here. Put 9 iron ingots in here. It takes about 3 seconds, and it'll put it out here. It'll consume a bit of energy doing it, 128 EU a tick, but boy is it efficient. Twice as fast as the plate bender for making plates. It can make rods more effectively than the lathe, because it makes 2 rods per ingot, as opposed to 1 rod and two small piles of dust, which is not more efficient, but easier. It makes gears more efficiently, using only 4 ingots instead of 6. Makes blocks faster. It can make sword blades, pickaxe heads, shovel heads, axe heads, hoe heads, hammer heads, file heads, saw blades, large pipes, normal pipes, small pipes, casings, wires, ingots, cells, rings, bolts, rods, and plates. Hugely versatile. Hugely versatile. Just keep like a chest next to it with a whole bunch of extruder shapes in them. Shape plates are not that expensive. 4 steel plates, a file, and a hammer. Then you just put them in the appropriate shape in a crafting table with a cutter to make their shape. Then you just plop them in. You could even make some way to automate this. And then put the required material in, and it'll start going. It makes kind of an annoying sound, but I think it's kind of cool. It makes sort of this whirring sound that can get a little grating after a little while. So put it in the corner of your shop where you're not going to go near it that often. And just plop a stack of stuff in there and watch the magic happen. So, that is the not-so-cohesive, not-so-educated view at all of the remaining blocks from GregTech. The next tutorial will be on all the remaining items that I've missed from GregTech. And then the tutorial after that, part 7, will be on the fusion reactor, what you've all been waiting for, hopefully. Because I like the fusion reactor personally, it's my favorite thing from GregTech, and everything else is just a stepping stone to get to the fusion reactor. I think that's about it, and I will see you later. Thanks for watching.